Hi everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to live stream on Twitch for Helsinki Fashion Week. Yay! I'm Emily Switzer. I'm one of the 3D designers participating in Helsinki Fashion Week. Feel free to type any questions in the Twitch chat and I'll get them here and I'll answer as I sort of go through what I'm talking about today. But thanks again for all my friends and fam who are joining me. It's super exciting to talk shop and I'll try not to bore you too much. But no promises. Yeah, seriously, this is going to be a whole lot of nerd talk. So I really just wanted to go through my video, which I created for Helsinki Fashion Week, which is entitled Slime World. And it's showcasing this garment that I created in video. So before we sort of go into that, I've prepared a little video and I'm going to share my screen. Get shared. And play through and just sort of talk about the concept for my 3D video and how I landed on it and what I did to get to the final and stuff like that. So first I just want to say I actually started out not in fashion. I actually started out in film. I didn't even start in 3D. I was in film, and I have a degree in film studies from Ryerson here in Toronto, Canada. And I sort of like fell into post-production and I was a coordinator for a long time for long format like film and TV stuff. And then I sort of went up the ladder and became a producer, but this time for short form content. So that's the commercials and spots and stuff like that. And it was a lot of fun, and I was always in proximity of 3D, and I had a lot of like understanding of the 3D pipeline, and I understood it in a very abstract sense, in the way that I like could I understood like what you had to do, but I never understood obviously how to do it myself, never being a 3D artist. And eventually I just got to the point where it's like I've always wanted to be a creative, and I thought, why not? Let's just dive right in and start with 3D since I had such an interest in it. And I've always been interested in fashion. So it kind of just like came together and I started to explore fashion in my 3D work. It was just like inevitable that it was going to happen. So yeah, this little video I've prepared sort of just shows how I was working in 3D to create this video. And the concept that we were given, or the theme that we were given that we were trying to stick to for this video was climate change. And it was really open for interpretation, basically, however the artists wanted to play with it. It was climate change was the theme. And I always knew what the garment was going to look like, but I had no idea the environment, where it was going to live, how to present it. I really didn't know what to do with it. And so I thought, okay, I'm just going to open up a file and start playing around, the equivalent of 3D sketching, basically, and see what clicks and see if anything sort of is talking to me. And initially here you see me sort of sculpting in 3D these big statuaries, like these giant 3D statuaries. There's my garment with the runway I was creating. And the idea behind the statuary was like these giant, bigger than life statues were sort of going to line the runway here as she walks down. And I wanted to give them a really soft, mushy feel to them, but texture them maybe in something harsh, like concrete or cement, and sort of just have that juxtaposition of a soft-bodied statue. So it almost looks like a pillow, but of course made out of a really hard and solid material. And that's actually the huge joy of 3D, is that you can have these juxtapositions. And especially in 3D fashion, you can make a dress out of wood, out of glass, out of cement. Why not? But it can behave and act like fabric. And sort of like 3D sort of liberates you a little bit from the constraints of the normal world, which is why when I present 3D fashion, I always try to do it in an interesting way, something that like could not be done in the real world, an environment that really couldn't exist or couldn't exist without some difficulty to execute in the real world. Why bother recreating a regular fashion runway with like a stage and a seating plan? Like, what does it matter? It's the 3D world. You can go wild, do whatever you want, right? In the reach of your imagination. And so I didn't really have a strong concept starting out with this video. And again, this is just sort of digital sketching, you could almost call it. And I was like molding stuff in 3D, seeing how it would look. As you see here, I thought, okay, it'd be neat. Maybe she comes around the corner, is like sort of revealed by the statue. She comes around the corner, but none of this was speaking to me. Like, what? How does this sort of play into the concept, you know? And I was hoping an idea would click. And you know, here I am, sort of goofing off, playing around with stuff, seeing what works. And so here are the test renders from that setup. As you can see, I went with a watery stage. I thought it would be interesting. Maybe the water is flooding the runway, and that could be the comment on climate change with these giant statues on either side. Very reminiscent of the Balenciaga show that happened. It was Paris Fashion Week. Anyway, in the past, where he flooded the stage in the first rows of the stadium and had his model sort of walk down with a couple of inches of water on the runway, which I thought was really interesting. But this is a very serious scene. As you can see, it's very dark, very ominous. And the garment in question is actually really playful. The final textures has like a very graphic 2D element to the dress. So I thought it was kind of going a little too serious. And these statues weren't talking to me. Like it really didn't feel like they had a purpose. So I decided, okay, let me just try this again. But this time maybe just play around with the textures and try something a little more playful, something that I think would match better with the garment itself. And so I'm getting there. I'm having a little fun here with some goofier textures, more playful stuff. And, you know, I still wasn't quite feeling it. And so eventually what me and my partner kind of call, it's like going nuclear. You either have to go back to the drawing board or do something drastic to your file to make you love it, because then if the concept's not strong, then it really doesn't matter what the environment's going to look like, how well I render it, or how intense or how well I execute these textures. If it's not a strong concept, it really doesn't matter. And that kind of brings me back to like something like that I've always said, no matter, it kind of like doesn't really matter where you are, what medium you practice, you know, whatever it is, whether it's fashion or film, anything really, any sort of creative medium, it's all about the story and the narrative, and have a strong concept. Like a strong concept can make up for a lack of technique, but a strong technique cannot make up for a lack of concept. And we've all seen those like projects where maybe you're a film like where everything's on point, everything's amazing, maybe the production budget isn't huge, maybe the production value is a little low, but it doesn't matter because the story's so good, we're totally forgiving. But we've seen films where the production value is like through the roof, it's like hundreds of millions of dollars, and the story is so bad, it's just unwatchable. It's like just pain to watch it. So like that's what I mean. Technique cannot cover for a bad concept. So it was kind of like me going back to the drawing board and then throwing everything at the kitchen sink, trying to figure out, you know, what would make this work. And here you can see again these test renders I was doing, just really not feeling this color scheme at all, to be honest. And you can see there's actually a technical error as the dress walks. The texture doesn't stick. Is sort of warping and not sticking the way it would in real life. Here I fixed it. And so here I've sort of gone ahead and deleted the statuary that I was so in love with at the beginning, but clearly wasn't working. And I'm starting to get something that I like. You know, we're starting to finally get there. And that's where I started to team up with these toruses, these deformed toruses, to create a tunnel effect around the runway. And I thought that was pretty interesting, that we were finally getting somewhere. And of course, here is where I landed on the final sort of a teaser. Here's a render from where I was going with the final environment. And this to me was way more interesting now, sort of just removing it from a stage setting and putting it somewhere more fantastical and adding an interesting camera move. This to me speaks. So okay, that's the end of that little video. And now I have to share here we go. So this is my project file. And I'm just gonna unsqueeze. So this is Cinema 4D. This is where I do the majority of my 3D work. And this is Octane Viewport. For those of you not 3D, Octane is a render engine that I use in conjunction with Cinema 4D to create my 3D environments for my garments. So it's a lot. I'm just going to take it out of this camera. And as you can see, we are in the environment for Slime World. Cool. So here it is from afar. This is where my dress walks down the runway. And we'll peek behind the magic. So these deformed torsos are spinning sort of counter to each other, and I will play this a little bit. And you can see it updating here in this little window. And I thought that motion was quite interesting, and that it created a great framing mechanism for the overall environment and display. And I'm using Octane textures here. I just want to shout out really quick to Tess, my partner, Tess. I've actually never had to say her full name right until this moment, so I probably should have practiced. But it's, I want to look it up just so I don't butcher it. I think it's Tess Van Zaleen. Hold on, bear with. I'm going on her. It's this lady. It's this one. Tess Van Zaleen, and she's Dutch. Anyway, she's great. I made this texture based on her amazing, beautiful lace patchwork, which she detailed how to create it. It's so labor intensive. And I digitized this, partially digitized this lace texture for her. And while we were working on our co-created outfit, also for Helsinki Fashion Week. And it's such a labor of love to create something like this. And so it translates so beautifully into 3D, and I sort of used it. Her real life version is a white lace, and as you can see here, I chose a really black for the dress. So shout out to her, because that lace is gorgeous. So I want to actually, I'm going to reveal the dress. There she is. This is the dress in question. I don't want to give up too much. I'll show you something here as I put it around. Take a look. So I'm going to zoom into the corset, and this is where you can see the lace at work. And you can see here I've added a texture to the t-shirt dress. And as you can see, it's added a sense of realism to it, and I've also done a ribbing on the collared t-shirt. So when I create textures for dresses in 3D in cinema, it's important that like you pay attention to the details, because they're going to sell the realism of the fabric. This is not a complex texture to set up. In fact, let me show you. All it is, oops, so let's pull up the correct one. All it is, look at that, it's so simple. It's just a normal map. It's a carbon fiber normal map, but I've reduced the scale significantly so that it actually looks like it has that sort of the texture of a t-shirt to it. And that stuff is what adds the extra level of realism. Sorry guys, I'm also just checking the chat to make sure there's any questions. But we're all good, so I'm just gonna keep going. I've also added a little sheen so that, you know, when light hits it, the sheen node is basically telling the fabric, like, when light hits it and there's a sheen, make it this color. I think that's how that works, I'm pretty sure. And the diffuse is, of course, the texture itself, the green texture. And then the roughness is dictating it, because this is a glossy fabric, glossy texture in cinema. And so this node is controlling just how shiny it is. So here, I'll give you an example. So I'm going to bring this all the way down. I believe I've made it more shiny. You can see the speck has increased. When I bring it all the way up, let's say increase it, making it a diffuse pretty much. It's made it so that like any shine is pretty much eliminated. It's just like a diffuse fabric texture. I think everything has just even a small bit of shine, so I think it makes sense to have a little bit in there. So there it is, and yeah, I don't even feel too much, but she's looking good. One of my favorite parts of 3D is playing with the lighting. In fact, in 3D World, we have a whole department called lighting department, and all it deals with is how to light 3D assets and scenes to make it more realistic. And lighting is a really important part of the pipeline for 3D, and it's important that it looks good and realistic. So some of the fun that I have in 3D is in lighting. Here are the various camera angles that I did for my video. So lighting is really important. It's not something to be forgotten. You know, you have to take it in consideration. Here's a great moment I'm just going to use as an example. She turns and walks. You see the live update here in the render view. So, you know, I have a custom HDRI, which is how I usually light my scenes. So I'm going to hide the HDRI. As you can see, well, as soon as I hide the HDRI, there's no lighting in the scene except for this little light, which I can turn off. And it just becomes very flat, very boring. Lighting really helps sell the realism of the scene. And the mood, of course, very important to sell the mood. So here we see it's like a beautiful rim light, and in 3D land, it's so easy to control this stuff and get different results. I think that's really lovely and dramatic, and sort of reflecting off the runway like that. But yeah, it's just amazing that you have this sort of control in 3D that you know realistically would be really hard to accomplish. It'd be quite the feat to try to get through. So that's sort of the quick lighting setup. This is not a complex lighting setup. If you know 3D, you're probably looking at this thinking, wow, that's all she did? Lazy. But sometimes the simpler the better, right? So it's really just a straightforward HDRI, a couple of various HDRIs. It's the same HDRI, just different sort of settings depending on the camera angle, and a single spotlight that's sort of following her in the front there. That was it. That was the lighting setup. So it's always fun to see this stuff live update. I just want to talk about Octane, which is an amazing software that I use. And I used Octane Scatter to get this effect of these slime drops coming down here. So you can see these slime drops here. This is being scattered across this plane element. And then there's an animation on the plane, a very, very simple animation. It's just going down. But it's really effective, and it created a nice little background, like it's raining slime. Gross, but cool. Yeah. So we have about 5 minutes left, or less. And I just wanted to say also shout out to my niece, Ella Sadie Switzer, who has hated everything that I've done before this video. I'm not joking. She she was very unimpressed by a lot of my work. And she is obsessed with slime, however. So when I was creating this video, I knew I had to somehow get this girl to acknowledge me on an artistic level, the 7-year-old. And when I showed her the final product of Slime World, she was genuinely impressed for the first time ever. So who knew that all I was really searching for was the validation of a 7-year-old? Thanks, Ella. You made me a better artist. So here we go. So she's walking down the runway, looking good, looking fine. Oh, it'll happen. Octane also can be very unstable, so you have to be careful not to be temperamental. So I'm actually gonna pause, save it, shut it down, and alright. So I'm just gonna stop sharing. Oh. and go back to me. Yay, okay, so that's it. I just wanted to walk you through Slime World a bit. I'm very excited to see it land on Helsinki Fashion Week. It's coming out, I believe, next week. I will post about it so you can review it when it comes out. And I'm very excited to see all the other work that the other 3D designers have created. It's some very ambitious work. I've seen some sneak peeks, and I'm impressed. And of course, the traditional designers, shout out to them and their wonderful work. I hope they enjoy the process of working with the 3D designers, and I hope it demonstrates how much we have to learn from each other and how much we can help each other in our respective fields of both fashion and 3D. So yeah, that's mostly it for me. Let me check if there's any questions. Nope. All right. Let's talk a little. So we have a bit of time left. I think I want to show you one more thing, which is I'm going to unfreeze this. Back her up. I'm not in the camera. If you're looking to get into 3D design and 3D fashion, I highly recommend that you start with Octane and Cinema. And Marvelous Designer and Flow are basically the two standard softwares that are specializing in 3D fashion right now. Like, that's how you create these really awesome cloth simulations. And also, so all my friends in 3D who are like, how do you get that realism? You know, I have a pretty strong computer, so it allows me to render at a high particle distance to get these nice folds. But a quick tip I want to show you guys is in your Alembic, in your Phong tag, set that to 180. Look how it's naturally set to 40. Look how crunched. It makes it crunchy. Do yourself a favor. 180 that. Bam. Smooths it out. That was my Cinema 4D tip of the day. It really sells these wrinkles to have the Phong tag set to 180. Oh, I'm getting a question. Emily, how was your overall experience of co-creation with Tess? And is this the first fashion week you were a part of? Yes, it is the first fashion week I'm a part of. And I would say my experience with Tess was outstanding. She is a woman of incredible caliber. Her craft, she practices her craft basically at the highest level, which is always a joy to take part of and admire, and see someone who loves what they're doing practicing it again at the highest level is just a joy. And I can't say enough nice things about her, nor can I say enough nice things about her amazing work. Check her out because her atelier is filled with secret, beautiful treasures. She's just wonderful. So I had a great experience. We both had a lot of fun. We were like, let's go ambitious. Let's do something big. So her co-created look is crazy large, and easily the most ambitious thing I've ever made in 3D for 3D fashion. That's for sure. I definitely have never made anything like this dress before. So, one of the other questions is, could this be achieved without Octane? Yeah, you can. There's so many different render engines out there, and Chloe even has an embedded render engine. It's maybe not the best for creating whole environments. It's really just, I would say, better to do just sort of the dress itself or the garment itself. But if you want to make 3D worlds and sort of get this sort of render quality, you might want to look at independent render engines like Octane, Redshift. Blender is free and amazing. I see what the kids are putting out in Blender, and they're also, that should be considered. So I think that's it for questions. Use Octane. No, Octane is not required, but that is my poison of choice, as it were. As you can see, I've sort of done, dang, I wish I'd rendered this shot. I like the lighting on this. These torsos, very simple, just a displacement. There it is. Here, I'll even show you what the displacement map looks like. That's what I'm using as a displacement. And the result, I'm just going to turn off the locking 80, is sort of like, it moves as if it were a fabric. And that's just a cheat, a very straightforward 3D cheat with displacer maps and torus. but it works, you know. Again, it's not about how complex the technique is it a good concept? That's the questions you need to be asking yourself. Does it work with my concept? Not, is this the most complex thing I could make? Who cares? If it looks good, that's all that matters. Save that. And I just realized I wasn't sharing my screen the whole time that I was clicking around. That's cool. One more question. Where did the slime world inspiration come from? My little niece, Ella, who loves slime, but also the idea of the whole climate change theme was like, maybe water, there is no water in the world left, and the year is 3000, and all we have left is slime, and the world is slime, and it's fetishized across all cultures and all art forms, including fashion. So fashion is sort of it's like fashion's take on slime, but yeah, we all live for slime. We are slime lords. That's my inspiration. And that's, I think we're out of time. So I'm going to just, before I answer any more questions, I think that's it.
Yep.
Okay, I'm being told to say bye. So goodbye, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to my live stream Twitch, and enjoy your rest of your day if you're in the East Coast. Enjoy your evening if you're in Europe. Peace out.